Hello there and welcome to the Card Grotto. Today I'm doing some simple scene building with MFT stamps, and I also have a giveaway at the end of this video as well. So to start off with, I've taken one of the dies from the A2 stitched rectangle Stax Die-namics set. I've added some low tack tape onto the sides of that, and I can place that down onto a panel of white cardstock which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. Run that through my die cutting machine to emboss that onto this panel. I really like embossing dies like this because it gives the illusion of layers without actually having to add any layers at all. So I want to do some ink blending on the inside, which again is going to make it look like a layer even more. So I just want to mask off the edges, and I'm using some post-it tape for that. And like I said, I'm going to be doing some ink blending on the inside. So this is the Mini Cloud Edges stencil, and I'm going to be using some Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink to create some clouds onto this panel. So unfortunately my camera cut out here and I didn't realise, so I have gone ahead and ink blended the first lot of clouds, but I'm going to add the rest of them on here now. So I really like this stencil because you've got 4 different edges of the clouds, and then if you flip it over you've got 4 other edges as well, which is really great. So I just take my time, figure out which side I want to use at that particular time, just to create some different interest along the bottom of this panel. So I'm using that Oxide ink just to blend in small circular motions. I'm using quite a light hand here just to add that colour onto it. It's a little bit difficult to see on camera, but it is very light. And then at the bottom I want to add some grass onto it, but I don't want there to be stark white above the grass before it gets into the cloud. So I'm just going to add some of that Tumbled Glass ink onto that, again using really light motions here. And then I can take that Grassy Edges stencil and I'm going to place that on my panel here. I'm using some more of that post-it tape just to stick that down in place. I didn't feel like I needed it with the clouds, but I want to make sure that this one really stays in place while I'm ink blending. And for the grass I'm going to be using first some Twisted Citron Oxide ink. So I'm just tapping off any of the excess there on a piece of scrap paper, to the side here, and I'm just again using quite a light hand here just to add that Twisted Citron onto the grass. And then this is quite a bright colour, so I am going to go in with some Mowed Lawn Oxide ink as well, just to dull that down a little bit, and it also gives quite a nice interest with the 2 different colours. And once that's done I can remove that stencil, and then making sure that I've got clean fingers I'm going to remove the post-it tape from this panel as well. And I really like this post-it tape because it doesn't damage the cardstock at all. It's really nice just to lift off. And as you can see, it looks like a panel inside of that panel of white cardstock. So next I'm going to work on the raccoon. He is absolutely adorable and he is from the Friendly Raccoon set. So I'm using the tree from that stamp set and also that one raccoon there. I've placed those in the mini MISTI onto some white cardstock, just making sure that there's nothing on those stamps, no residue or anything like that. And then I can ink those up with extreme black ink and stamp those onto the white cardstock. I'm going to stamp them twice just to make sure that I get a nice dark impression. And then I can do some Copic colouring. So I want my light source to be from the top right hand corner. So I'm using my darkest colour here, which is the W7, to add in where I want my darkest shadows to be. And I have mentioned it on camera before, but when I do colour on camera I do find it a little bit difficult because I am quite a way away from my eyes, I suppose. I'm quite at arm's length doing this, so a couple of the times I did sort of go outside of the lines. I didn't actually capture it on camera, but I used the colourless blender just to push that back into the image. So I used the W6 there just to blend out with the W7 and then the W5 as well. And here I'm going in with my lightest shade, this is the W3, just to blend all of those colours together in the darkest areas. He is such an adorable little raccoon. We don't actually have them in the UK, or at least I've never seen them anyway. I do believe they are quite destructive, but in stamp form they are absolutely adorable. So I'm using that W3 just to go in with the shadows, the darkest areas in the lightest colour. And then I'm using the W1 and the W00 just to blend those all out. And then I can add some pinky peachy colours into the ears, and that's R12, R00 and R000. And then for the tree trunk I'm using E57 and E55. And then for the tree top I'm using my favourite green combination, and this is YG17, YG23, YG03 and YG01. I really like this combination. I think it blends quite nicely together, and it's also quite a bright green as well, which I think is quite a nice sort of happy colour, I suppose, and especially works quite well for this card. So then I can take the coordinating Die-namics, place those down onto the images with some low tack tape, and then I can run that through my die cutting machine. So next I'm going to stamp out the sentiment. I'm using the Just a Note sentiment from the Birdie Brown Greetings Galore stamp set. So I have my ink blended panel in the mini MISTI here, and I'm going to stamp out that sentiment, again using that extreme black ink. And then I can use some adhesive to add my card panel onto an A2 sized white card base. And I'm just going to use my bone folder just to make sure that that top edge is really well stuck down. And then I can add my elements on top. So for the tree I'm using some thin foam tape, making sure that I've got loads of foam tape onto the back of this, as you can see. And then for the raccoon I'm going to use some normal sort of thickness of foam squares. I really like the different layers of dimension. I want the raccoon to be sort of the star of the show, I suppose. And so I wanted him to be slightly higher than the tree itself. So I really like adding the two different layers of dimension. So for the tree here, I'm just going to add some liquid glue onto that tree trunk. I want that to be behind the raccoon's tail, so I didn't really want any dimension on that. So I've placed my raccoon so I know where I want my tree to be, and I can just place that down. And then I can remove the backings off of the foam tape on the raccoon. So as you can see, that tree does look a little bit weird sort of flying in space here, but I wanted it a little bit taller than it is actually drawn on the stamp. And it's quite helpful because the raccoon's tail covers that completely, so you'll never know that that wasn't actually supposed to be that tall. So just placing my raccoon down there. And then I am keeping this card really quite clean and simple, but I'm just going to add some white highlights here with a white gel pen. So adding that onto the tree, onto the raccoon's tail, his little tummy there, and also the top of his head. And then to finish off, I'm just going to use some black glaze pen to add in some eyes, or add in over the eyes and also the nose as well. So like I said, there is a giveaway for this video. To be in with a chance of winning a $25 gift certificate to the MFT store, you need to be subscribed to my YouTube channel, be subscribed to the MFT YouTube channel, and leave me a comment on this video by the 1st of October 2018. So that's the card finished for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Links to the products will be in the description bar on YouTube and also over on my blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.